Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something that I know you're really interested in, subjective realities.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be taking a look at the work of Lisa Tannert.
Okay.
Now she uses fairy tales to look at addiction, recovery, and spiritual growth.
Right.
It sounds like you're ready to learn how our beliefs shape our reality, and maybe even like learn a little something about yourself along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's what we're all here for, right?
Absolutely.
So Lisa's work is so interesting because she takes like fairy tales and uses them as a lens to view really complex ideas.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because most people, when they think of fairy tales, they think of children's stories.
Right, exactly.
But her work is anything but childlike.
Yeah, yeah.
She's a recovered alcoholic.
Oh, wow.
And that experience has completely changed the way that she sees the world.
Yeah, you can tell like her writing, it has this really powerful weight to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's coming from like a really, authentic place, like a place of wisdom.
Exactly.
Especially when she talks about detox.
Mhm.
She really doesn't sugarcoat it.
No, she doesn't.
She talks about the physical and the emotional torment in a way that really reveals the power of belief.
It's like she uses her own experience as like this perfect illustration of how subjective reality works.
Yeah.
Like, for her, she truly believed that she needed alcohol to survive.
Right.
Which, of course, isn't rational, but
But that was her reality.
exactly, that was her truth.
So then, like, how do we even define subjective reality?
Right.
I feel like that's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but, like, what does it actually mean?
Well, it's basically the idea that how we see reality is shaped by our own experiences, our beliefs, and, our biases.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we each have our own lens through which we view the world.
Right, right.
Think about it this way. Two people can see the same event,
Yeah.
but they can have completely different interpretations of that event
Oh, yeah, for sure.
based on what they already believe and what they assume.
And that actually reminds me of something else that Lisa talks about, which is changing our beliefs.
Mm.
Like, if our beliefs are so powerful that they shape how we experience the world,
Right.
then, shifting our beliefs could, like, actually change our lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
I mean, Lisa's own recovery is proof of that.
Right.
When she was able to actually like challenge and change her belief that she needed alcohol,
Yeah.
it allowed her to get sober.
It's like she broke a spell or something.
It really is.
Wow. So it's more than just positive thinking. It's about like fundamentally shifting how we see ourselves and how we see the world.
Exactly.
That's pretty powerful.
It really is.
So how do we even begin to identify those limiting beliefs?
Right.
It feels like they're so ingrained that like we don't even know that they're there.
Well, and this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Lisa says we should look to fairy tales for clues.
Okay.
She thinks that these stories with their, archetypes and journeys can reveal our own unconscious patterns and beliefs.
So you're saying like we can use fairy tales like a mirror to see our own internal stories.
Exactly.
Huh.
Think about some of those common fairy tale themes: overcoming obstacles, facing your fears, discovering hidden strengths.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these stories resonate with us
Oh, for sure.
because they're tapping into these universal human experiences.
Yeah, yeah.
And so by analyzing these stories, we can maybe understand our own, psychology and our emotional landscapes a little better.
That's a pretty cool way to look at fairy tales.
Right.
I don't think most people really see them as a tool for personal growth.
But that's part of what Lisa's so good at.
Yeah.
She takes something that we're familiar with and helps us see it in a whole new way.
Right.
And she doesn't shy away from the dark parts of fairy tales either.
Oh, yeah.
She acknowledges the shadows, the struggles, the despair.
Yeah.
And she reminds us that those things are part of being human, too.
That actually reminds me of something else that she explores, which is the spiritual side of recovery.
Right.
She quotes Carl Jung,
Oh, yeah.
who said that addiction could actually be like a misplaced longing for something deeper, a
Interesting.
spiritual connection.
I mean, think about it.
Right.
Addiction is usually about finding comfort or escape in something outside of ourselves.
Right.
But what if that desire for something external is actually like a misdirected search for something within?
Wow. That's a pretty profound idea.
Yeah.
So are we all just like walking around trying to fill this void, this spiritual emptiness
Yeah.
with things that can't satisfy us?
Well, that's a big question,
Yeah.
and one that Lisa definitely struggles with in her work.
Okay.
She doesn't say that she have all the answers or anything.
Right.
But she really encourages us to consider the possibility that, true healing, whether it's from addiction or any kind of suffering, might have a spiritual element to it,
Yeah.
you know?
I think that's a really interesting place to kind of leave off for today.
Yeah, I agree. And this is where that fairy tale analogy is really powerful because a lot of these stories are all about, searching for meaning and connection, searching for something bigger than themselves.
Oh, like the hero's journey,
Exactly.
facing trials and, fears, and they come out stronger.
Yeah, they're transformed by the experience. They learn something profound.
Totally.
And, that really resonates with Lisa's own experience with addiction and recovery.
Right.
She had to confront her own demons, challenge those beliefs that were holding her back, and find a new way to live in the world.
Yeah.
It's a total transformation.
It's interesting that you say that because I was thinking about something that Lisa said about happy endings.
Okay.
She has this kind of unique take on it,
Yeah.
where she says that our egos, our sense of self, they actually resist the idea of a happy ending.
That is a really interesting observation.
Right.
You see that a lot in fairy tales, actually.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like those classic villains who are so driven by greed or pride or power that they end up destroying their own chance at happiness.
Right.
They're so focused on controlling everything,
Yeah.
on getting a specific outcome, that they totally miss out on the possibility of a good life.
So how does that idea of the ego, like resisting happy endings, apply to like our everyday lives?
Well, it suggests that we might be holding on to beliefs or behaviors that are actually preventing us from being truly happy.
Okay.
Like we might be so attached to a certain identity or a certain outcome
Yeah.
that we're unable to see, the opportunities for growth and change that are right there.
So you're saying that like we need to let go of our ideas of what a happy ending should look like in order to actually find it.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about surrendering to the journey,
Right.
trusting the process and being open to unexpected twists and turns.
Yeah.
Remember in fairy tales, the hero doesn't always end up where they thought they would,
Right.
but they often find something even better along the way.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before with the power of belief. If we're stuck in those rigid beliefs about how things should be,
Right.
we might be missing out on, some of the magic that life has to offer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about, loosening that grip on those limiting beliefs, those stories that we tell ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of.
Yeah.
It's about opening ourselves up to the possibility that our happy ending might look totally different from what we thought it would.
Lisa is a perfect example of that.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, she went through something incredibly challenging with her addiction.
Yeah. But it led her to this place of real insight and transformation,
Wow.
And her work encourages us to think about how our own struggles, our own challenges, might actually contain the seeds of our greatest growth.
Okay.
It's about finding the courage to face those difficult parts of ourselves,
Yeah. Right.
to embrace the shadows,
Yeah.
and to trust that even in those really dark moments, there's potential for change.
I really like that perspective. Because it's so easy to get caught up in that idea that happiness is about avoiding pain or discomfort.
Right.
But Lisa's work is saying that, true fulfillment actually comes from confronting those tough emotions.
Exactly. And that's where those fairy tales come in again.
Okay.
Because the stories remind us that the darkness and the light, the joy and the sorrow, they're all a part of being human.
Yeah.
And it's often in those moments of greatest challenge that we discover our true strength.
So we've talked about subjective reality, the power of belief, the way that fairy tales can help us grow and change.
Yeah.
It's been a really amazing conversation.
It has.
But I'm wondering, what does all of this actually mean for us?
Right.
For our everyday lives?
Well, one of the things that Lisa really emphasizes is that we have a choice in how we see the world around us.
Okay.
We can choose to see ourselves as victims of circumstance.
Right.
Or we can choose to see ourselves as the heroes of our own stories.
Oh, okay.
We can get trapped by those limiting beliefs. Or we can challenge those beliefs and create a reality that's more aligned with what we really value.
So it's about taking ownership of our own stories.
Yeah.
We're not just, characters in someone else's story.
Makes sense.
We have the power to, decide where the story goes.
Exactly. And it all starts with awareness,
Okay.
by recognizing how powerful our beliefs are.
Yeah.
We can start to identify those beliefs that are holding us back.
Right.
And by understanding the language of fairy tales,
Mm-hmm.
we can get some insight into our own, unconscious patterns and what motivates us.
So you're saying that self-awareness is the key
Yeah.
to unlocking our potential.
It really is.
It's about understanding ourselves on a deeper level so
Right.
we can make choices that lead to a more fulfilling life.
Exactly. It's about realizing that we create our own realities. We have the power to choose the stories we tell ourselves, the beliefs that we embrace, and the actions that we take.
Right.
And when we make those choices consciously, we can create a life that is meaningful and magical.
I love that. So it's like we have this power, to create our own happy endings,
Yeah,
but we're often the ones getting in our own way.
it's true. We can be our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
But the good news is that once we're aware of those patterns,
Yeah.
the ones that are holding us back,
Right.
we can start to change them.
Okay.
And Lisa really emphasizes the importance of being kind to ourselves in that process.
Self-compassion.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're not perfect.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes and we're all on this journey of growth and learning.
So instead of beating ourselves up for our mistakes,
Right.
we can be understanding and patient with ourselves.
Exactly. It's about seeing those flaws as opportunities to learn and grow.
And maybe those flaws aren't even flaws. Maybe they're just parts of ourselves that need a little more love and attention.
That's a good way to put it.
And when we can accept all parts of ourselves,
Yeah.
that's when we can really start to heal and move forward.
I think Lisa's approach to recovery and to life in general
Yeah.
is all about embracing the entire journey, the ups and the downs.
Right.
It's about finding meaning in both the good times and the bad times.
And that's where the fairy tale analogy really comes full circle.
Right.
Because those stories, they remind us that even when things are really hard,
Yeah,
there's still potential for growth and transformation.
exactly. The hero might face these huge obstacles,
Right.
but they come out stronger and wiser because of them.
That's such an empowering message.
Really is.
It's like even when we're feeling lost and discouraged,
Yeah.
we can still choose to be hopeful, to be resilient.
And to keep going.
Yeah.
That's an important message for anyone who's struggling with addiction or going through any kind of challenge.
Totally.
Lisa's story reminds us that no matter how dark things get,
Mm-hmm.
we can always find the light.
Yeah.
We can take back our power
Okay.
and create a life that's meaningful and beautiful.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We talked about subjective reality, the power of belief, how fairy tales can help us grow and change,
Yeah.
and the importance of being kind to ourselves.
Self-compassion.
Yes, exactly.
So important.
And we saw how Lisa's own journey through addiction and recovery shows us that we can rewrite our own stories and create a life that reflects our values.
And we've learned that those fairy tales we heard as kids,
Right.
they actually have a lot to teach us about personal growth and transformation.
I want to leave you with a question that Lisa's work inspired.
Okay.
If life really is like a fairy tale,
Yeah.
what belief or what curse do you need to break free from
Right.
to experience your own happy ending?
It's a good question.
What story are you telling yourself
Yeah.
that might be holding you back?
Take some time to think about that.
Yeah,
And remember, you have the power to change your story,
right.
to rewrite it and create a life that's both magical and meaningful.
That's a great place to end it.
I agree.